said we're looking at what we did yesterday. We're looking at 12, which was the first pattern. We're looking at 13, which was the second pattern, and the third pattern. Those two are both part of number 13, pattern 2 and pattern 3. Okay. And it says when you compare the patterns, what seemed the same and what was different, explain in a few sentences. So first, let's get our name on this. Today I'll be red. Always in the habit of putting your name on it, even if it's virtual. Okay, so we're looking at yesterday. We're comparing the patterns from yesterday. How were those patterns the same and how were they different? So I know for sure before we left and you had to do your own, we noticed what about pattern 1 and pattern 2? What did we end up figuring out about pattern 1 and pattern 2? This is them side by side. Before we left, what did we end up noticing about pattern 1 and pattern 2? What do we notice about pattern 1 and pattern 2? You have them open. They're side by side right here with me too. What did we notice about pattern 1 and pattern 2? They had the same growth rate. Now, remember I did not do pattern 3 in class. So what happened with pattern 3? What happened with pattern 3? What was it growing by? Because that's what you were supposed to do outside of class to get your full credit. So what was the growth rate for pattern 3? Let's look. I think I went up by 1 here, right? I made a column of 3. So what was the growth for pattern 3? So how could we say this? We need to say how they're the same and how they're different. Okay, so what did we notice they were the same? What were they all growing by? All 3 patterns had the same growth rate of positive 4. Okay, so that's how they were the same. Now we got to think about how were they different? How were they different? How were they different from each other then? What made them all different? Ah, nice. They all had different start values. Pattern. Oops, look at one. One had a start of what? What was pattern 1's start? What was pattern 1's start? What was pattern 1's start? I should see everybody on the same spot I'm at in the worksheet. That we're at the very top on the one pulling it together, not somewhere else on the worksheet. right? So pattern 1 had a start of 2 tiles. Pattern 2 had a start of what? One car, one chicken, what? One what? What thing? One thing of what? One what? Look at what we said for pattern 1. What are we saying for pattern 2? Start of one what? What are the objects that we're looking at? What are these things that we're looking at? What do these little boxes stand for? Oh, tile. Okay, one tile. Pattern 3 had a start of, what was pattern 3 start? Because you did it yesterday. What was pattern 3 start? Be specific. 3 what? Tiles. Okay. All right. So then we were supposed to find an equation for each pattern. Okay. And we already did that yesterday, so we just have to move it here. Okay. Pattern 1. What was its rule? Pattern 1, what was its rule? Okay. Okay, so pattern 1 was the 4x plus 2. Okay. It's arguing with me today. Okay. Pattern 2. We use our equation writer for our rule. Y equals 4x plus 2. And we move it. And I want it bigger than 12. More like 16 so I can read it. Okay. So now we want pattern 2. What was our rule we figured out for pattern 2? We did them yesterday. Okay. Y equals 4x plus 1. Okay. Pattern 3. Y equals 4x plus 3. Okay. So we wrote the equation for each pattern. We labeled each pattern on that, right? We did that all. So what connections do you see between your equations and the tile pattern? So we're talking about visually. What connections do you see between the equations and the tile pattern? So let me make this a little bit bigger. maybe. Okay. So we're talking about the equations that we made and the tile pattern we found for that. Well, the tile pattern we found based on the picture. So when we were looking at our first one, how are we linking the 4x plus 2? Say it in words and relate it to our picture. Say it in words and relate it to our picture. So I will start it. For pattern 1, the rule has us take the figure number, multiply by 4, and add 2 tiles to it so we can find the number of tiles in any figure of the pattern. Okay. All right, so that's what we're saying about figure 1. That for pattern 1, the rule had us take figure number, multiply by 4, and add 2 to it. Okay, are we going to be saying that the instructions for pattern 2 and the instructions for pattern 3 are going to be all that much different? Are the words we're going to use to describe pattern 2 and pattern 3 different than that? Or can we just go replace the information for pattern 2 and the pattern 3? Do I need to rewrite something new for pattern 2? Do I need to rewrite something new for pattern 2? Do I need to rewrite something new for pattern 2? Come on, guys. Do I have to write something different, or are they all pretty much the same? I'm just changing up some of the numbers. Do I have to reinvent and start over? No. So what am I going to do so I don't have to waste my time? I'm going to copy and paste it. I'm going to copy and paste it for the next pattern. What's the only 2 things we have to change? What are the only 2 things we have to change in the whole sentence? We have to change 2 numbers and only 2 numbers. What are those 2 numbers? We have to change the 4 and the 2. Pattern 2 has a different number than 4? No. So what are the 2 things we need to change? So we're talking about pattern 2. So I've copied it in red. Why did that go there? Copied it in red. What pieces of the red do I need to change so that I'm talking about pattern 2? What pieces of the red do I need to change so I'm talking about pattern 2? To save myself time, knowing that they were very similar, I copied what I said for pattern 1. but I now have to make it clear it's pattern 2. So what's the first thing I have to change? So this red talks about pattern 2. I have to change the number 1 where? To a number 2. Okay, so I'm saying pattern 2, exactly, to tell them it's pattern 2. What else am I going to change? So it's clear it's pattern 2. The number of tiles where? From a 2 to a 1, yes, because we have to and 1 tile. This should say add. That was a typo. Add 1 tile. So I'm going to fix it up there in a second. Take off the S because it's not plural, right? That should have been the word add. Sorry. Okay. Is the description for pattern 3 going to be different? By a lot. Is there going to be this huge difference between what we've just said for 1 and 2 for number 3? No. So I'm just going to copy it. And I'm going to paste it because why reinvent, right? Work smart, not hard. Okay, now what needs to change? What's the first thing that needs to change? So we're talking about pattern 3. What's the first thing that needs to change? So we're talking about pattern 3. The number 2 over here has to change. To a 3. Okay. What else has to change to a 3? Because pattern 3 added 3 tiles on. Yeah. Instead of it saying number 1, it has to say number 3. Instead of saying pattern 1, it should say pattern 3. Okay. All right. So then it says, so we did a connection between your equation and your tile pattern. And we're going to show the connection. So we are going to use our rule to find, one of the situations. So the rule was y equals 4x plus 2, right? So my fourth pattern had how many tiles in it? What did it say in our table for number 4? For the first pattern that we did yesterday, the fourth one, the fourth figure, what did it say the total numbers were? How many total tiles were in figure 4, pattern 1 yesterday? 18. So 18 had to equal 4 times figure 4 plus 2. Right, yeah. Did it again. So does 18 equal 16 plus 2? So 18 equals 18, right? We're going to do the same thing for the other one. So I'm going to copy what I just did. I'm going to paste it down below. But I'm going to change it up for figure 2, which was add 1. How many was in the fourth one for pattern 2? I believe it was 17, right? So all we're doing is taking the information we already did. Already did it. We're just using it. Third one was a plus 3. So how many was in figure 4 for the third pattern? I know I have to add 3 here. How many were in figure 4 of pattern 3 yesterday that you did on your own outside of class? That's why you're split screen with it. How many were in figure 4 of pattern 3's worksheet yesterday? Some of you did the right thing. Okay, 19. Thank you. So you describe it and then you verify it. That's what they wanted you to do. Okay. Are we good with that? Not a big deal. Imagine the team next to you created a new tile pattern that grows the same way as the ones you worked with, but they refused to show it to you. What other information would you need to be able to figure out how many tiles were in pattern 100? So if it's growing by the same way, what would the rule start with? If it's growing the same way, what is the beginning of the rule? Okay, the rule would be growing the same. That's what they said. So it starts as y equals what? It's growing the same. What does it start with? What's the beginning of the rule that's growing the same way? Look at the other 3 rules that we just got done doing. How were they growing? Look at the other 3 rules we just got done doing. What am I going to write immediately after the equal sign if they're growing the same way as those 3? Not just a 4. Not just a 4. Our equation doesn't just go 4. Or what? Look at all of the rules. That shows they're growing the same. How do I show they're all growing the same? Not just 4. What goes with it? 4x. Okay. So the rule would be growing the same way. So it starts as y equals 4x. But they're refusing to tell you, they're refusing to show it to you. So what other information do we need? What do we need to know to finish the rule? What part was changing between the rules? And what did that represent? What part was changing in the rules? The number of tiles for what? The number of tiles for what? No. Of course, it's to finish the rule, but what piece was changing in in patterns 1, 2, and 3? What part was changing and what did it stand for? That is what I'm asking. To finish the rule, we need to know what piece of information. What part was changing in all their equations? I'm getting irritated with having to remind people that they should be seeing me and I should be seeing their eyes in the camera. Yes, I still see you. So fix your cameras. What piece was different in all three of the rules? What did it stand for? What piece was changing? What did it stand for? The number of tiles the pattern started with. Exactly. Thank you, Adrienne. Okay, we need to know the number of tiles the pattern is starting with. Without knowing a start and a growth, we cannot figure out where 100 would be because we couldn't get a rule. We couldn't finish our rule. Okay. So we have to know how many we're starting with. I've got 3 people on my radar as about ready to leave because I don't see you in your cameras. Fix it. Okay. You have to know a growth and a start, or you cannot get a rule and move forward. Okay, so we have a new pattern. We have a new pattern. So we have to first draw figures 0 and 4. We have to draw figures 0 and 4. So we're going to highlight. I'm making figure 1 green. Okay, I'm making figure 1 green. Then I'm going to go into figure 2 and highlight where figure 1 is. So figure 2 has part green, and it's going to have partly a new color. And I'm going to highlight in figure 3 where figure 1 is in green. Now, could you be picking a different color? Of course. But we have to start with somewhere. So that's figure 1 highlighted, right? Every single figure has a figure 1 hiding inside. Then I'm going to go highlight the parts of figure 2 that are different. So different, different. And I'm going to add those to figure 3. Oh, there's the figure 2 different and the figure 2 different. And then I have to have a third color, which is the figure 3 different. And I'm going to make those yellow. So we're trying to see what changed. Okay, we have to draw figure 0. So something changed from figure 1 to figure 2. Something changed. What changed from figure 1 to figure 2? What changed from figure 1 to figure 2? No, the shape didn't change. That's not what we're talking about. What difference is there between figure 1 and figure 2? Be specific. What did they do? Where did they put it? What changed? Okay. 4 tiles have been added from figure 1 to figure 2, because that's what we're asking about, figure 1 to figure 2. not figure 1 to figure 4. Okay, figure 1 to figure 2, we added 2 tiles below the left and right of the plus sign, right? We added 2 tiles below the left and right of the plus sign. So if I'm going to make figure 0, I have to take out 2 side squares because I added 2 to go from 1 to 2, and they were on the side. So what would be left if we took the 2 sides off of figure 1? What would we have? We took the 2 sides off figure 1. What would we have for figure 0? If we take the 2 sides off of figure 1 to create figure 0, what do we have? How? What is it going to look like? Be specific. Get over the short answers. Get into the detailed answers. What specifically would figure 0 look like? Just saying 3 tiles, I could, okay, it's 3 tiles. Okay, there's one here, there's one there, there's one there. That's 3 tiles. Be specific. Be specific. A straight line would look like this. Oh, a column of 3 tiles. Thank you. Now, remember, we put our X right in the middle, and it'll make each box. Are they going to be a little crooked? Yeah, but that's a lot better than it used to be. Okay. So if this was figure 0, if that was figure 0, then we need to go replace the colors so that figure 0 is represented in all the parts. So figure 0 was red then, which means I have to go back to the other ones and take the center out and take the center out. Gotta fix that one. Because the center, figure 0, should have been red. So I'm going replacing with red. Red, red, red. So then I can see figure 0, figure 1, figure 2, figure 3. So I can see figure 0, figure 1, figure 2, figure 3. I'll fix this one, it's bugging me. Okay. And that was part of what you guys were supposed to be doing yesterday. You were required to color code. Okay, so we have to build figure 4. We know for sure figure 4 is going to start with how many red? And where would they be? So we're going to build it based on the colors first. How many red and where would they be? Okay, if we look, Where are the red tiles? 3 in the middle. Okay, so 3 red tiles. All right, then we went to figure 1, and that was the green. Where are those going to go? Where are the green going to go? Are they going to go even with the top? One on the left, one on the right middle tile. Yep. Green. Green. Okay. Then we have the purple. Where's the purple going? Below the green, right? One on the left, one on the right. Then we're doing our yellow, right? Now we need our new color. I think we'll do blue. It's going to go one on the left, one on the right, right? Now I can go make the squares easier because the color's already there. Crooked. Got to make sure the X is like right in the middle of the box if you want it to be the correct, for those of us that are really irritated by the fact it's not perfect. It's okay. So we drew figure 0, we drew figure 4, right? Those are done. We drew those. We color coded. So then now we've already finished part of part B. We color coded. Okay. We have to figure out the pattern rule. We have to figure out the pattern rule. So we need to figure out how many boxes are in each. How many were in figure 1, figure 0? How many total boxes figure 0? How many total box? 3. Okay. How about figure 1? How about figure 1? Sorry, plug it in. How about figure 2? Figure 1, figure 2, figure 3, figure 4. Okay. So we need to figure out our growth. What's, one moment. What's our growth each time? What's our growth each time? What are we doing? Okay. We added 2 to make 3 to 7, 3 to 5. 5 to 7 also was a +2, so I'm just going to copy it. 7 to 9 was also a +2. 9 to 11 was also a +2. Right? So I just copied what I did. So what is that going to tell us? That's our growth. What else do we need to know to make this rule? Our growth, which is our change of y divided by change of x. Our change of x was this up here, right? Our figure growth. What did those grow by? What did our figure numbers grow by? One. So these are going to be plus ones. Okay. So same thing as we did yesterday. Right? So our growth was adding 2 divided by, and I have to move the plus sign back up because the calculator wants to put it out front. Adding 2 divided by adding 1. That was our growth, right? What does that equal? What's that equal? Divided by 2 by 1. What do we get? What was our growth? What is 2 divided by 1, guys? Come on. No one's camera should be off. Everyone should be where I can see you. 2. Positive 2. Okay, our growth was positive 2. What's the other thing we need to know in order to write the rule? What's the other piece we need to know in order to start the rule? In order to make the rule, what do we need to know? In order to make the rule, what do we need to know? The start value. Okay, thank you. So start value. Where do I find start value? Where do I find the start value again? Which figure is my start value? Figure 0. So my start value is always my figure 0, my 0, comma, coordinate, okay? So what is the start value for this graph, for this rule? Is it positive? Is it negative? Tell me all the facts. What is my start value for this rule? What am I going to say? Positive or negative? And what number? What's my start value? Is it positive or is it negative? Let's start there. It's positive. Okay, it's positive because it's tiles. Now, is it possible for a start value to be negative when we get into other things? Yes. But for tiles, obviously no, because I see 3 there. It has to be positive. And it's positive 3 because I see 3 tiles there. So now we are going to do our rule. Okay. So how would our rule look knowing this information? How is our rule going to look knowing this information? Y equals what? Yep, 2x plus 3. Y equals 2x plus 3. What is the same about this pattern and tile pattern 3? And what is different? Okay. So What is the same between this tile pattern and tile pattern 3? What is the same about this that we just did? Y equals 2x plus 3. What's the same between tile pattern 3 and tile pattern 4? What's the same between tile pattern 3 and tile pattern 4? Tile pattern 3 was up on the page just above. Tile pattern 4 we just did. Oh, same start values are the same. Oh, let's say have the same start value. And then what is different? But they had different growth rates. Okay. So what do those differences look like in the growth, in the pattern, in the visual? Visually, okay, visually, looking at the pattern of tiles. So let's go back and look. Okay, let's see. This has 3, right? Scrolling. Oh, that's right. We didn't do pattern 3 here. We did pattern 3 on yesterday's homework, yesterday's classwork. So yesterday's classwork, let me go get it. Nope, right idea, wrong button. Let's go get it. Let's look at it. Yep, see, it still makes me do all the same stuff you guys have to do. So I'm opening yesterday's because I made the mistake of closing it. Silly me. I thought I was done with it. Let's pick the right one. Okay, so let me go get to the right one. Let's go get to pattern 3 so we can see it. Okay. So pattern 3 is right here. And we decided that it went up 1 and then added 3 over here, right? And if we took that off, a column of 3 and 1 above, that gave us 3 sideways ones, right? So visually, what's the same? Visually, this one had 3 vertically and the other one had 3 horizontally, right? But it was still 3. That's what was the same, right? Visually, in pattern 3, that should be a comma. The 3 tiles went horizontal. Okay. What's another word for horizontal? What's another word for horizontal? Which is this one, right? Horizontal. So let me go like this. What's another more everyday word we could use for horizontal? Or phrase we could use for horizontal? What's another way to say horizontal? Because horizontal is a math word. What's an everyday word for horizontal? Well, this is a straight line too, right? We want horizontal. Okay, remember this is horizontal and this is vertical. We want horizontal. What's another way to say that in everyday terms other than horizontal? I'm pretty sure most of you don't walk around going, oh, that's horizontal, right? What do you use for this way? It's another way to say this way. Because it's still a straight line. This and this are both straight lines. So that's not a good way to say horizontal, because straight line, it just depends. This is straight line too. We want horizontal. What's another way to say the word horizontal that's not horizontal? Because I'm pretty sure you don't walk around going, oh, wow, that's horizontal. If you draw a line this way on the paper, you don't say it's horizontal most of the time. What do you say instead? Come on, we're making vocabulary connection here. What's another way to say horizontal? Give you a hint, it starts with the letter S. Yes, sideways. Okay. 3 tiles went horizontal, sideways. But, put a comma. Learning how to write in all things. In pattern 4, the 3 tiles went vertical. What's another way to say vertical? That's another way to say vertical. In everyday terms, what's another way to say vertical? What's going on? Might not be a single word. Starts with letter U. Only up? What do we usually say for this? Up and down. Upward just means up, 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 up. Up and down, right? Okay, so same, different. Okay, that was different. Now we have to do different. Visually, what happened differently between pattern 3 yesterday? Visually, what happened different between pattern 3 yesterday and pattern 4 today? Bring up yesterday's again. Okay, pattern 3. We started with 3, but what happened yesterday to that pattern? Compared to today, what's happening with this pattern? So what they did the same was they started with 3. What did they do differently? What did they do differently? They started the same, but what did they do differently? Visually, what did changed from one to the other? Keep doing that. What changed between figure 3, started with 3, and then what happened? And figure 4 started with 3 and what happened? That's what's different. The what happened after. So what happened after? They both started with 3. But what happened differently? that we can see visually between them? What happened differently between this picture here, pattern 3, and this picture here? They both started with 3, but what was different visually? What was happening differently visually? How did they change pattern 3? How did they change pattern 4? That's what's different, how they changed it. So what was different? What can we see differently happening? We are visually looking at it. Okay? You're looking at the picture of it. What did they do differently? They started with 3 and they did something visually to this one. They started at 3 and they did something visually to this one. What did they do visually? What did they do differently? How did they do something different with this pattern 3 that started with 3 and this pattern 4 that started with 3? What did they visually do to pattern 3? That was different than pattern 4? It has to do with growth, yes, but you need to be specific about the situation. What did they do differently from pattern 3 to pattern 4? We've already established they both started at 3. So what happened with pattern 3 from its 3 compared to pattern 4 from its 3? How were they changing differently? Be specific about these specific patterns. Some of you are trying to be too general and too brief, and you need to get over that. You have to write. You have to explain. It's what's required now. Sentences of stuff in math. I understand, but this is math. Doesn't matter. You have to be able to write and explain in all subjects now. That's what's required. That's what's different for you guys. So I agree, Lily, that it's the growth pattern, but you're not being specific about pattern 3 versus pattern 4. How was there a difference between visually what was happening in pattern 3 and visually what was happening in pattern 4? We have to be specific about these situations, this specific instance. What happened to pattern 3, which is this one? What happened to pattern 3? No, it has to do with the growth. I didn't say the growth was wrong. I said you are not being specific. What specifically happened in pattern 3's growth? What was it? What was happening? Not this general idea of it grew more. Be specific. What happened? It started as a 3, and then what happened? It started as a 3, and then what happened? So pattern 3 started as a 3, and then what happened to it? What happened to it from the 3? What specifically changed from pattern 0 to pattern 1? What happened? Not it grew more. Be specific. What happened? You guys have already mentioned it several times, but you're not mentioning it now, which is what's puzzling me. You guys know what happened to go from this group of 3 to this next number. Be specific for these tile patterns. We are talking about tile patterns. We're not talking about general. We're not just +4. We're not just it grew. We're not just what happened visually. Pattern 3 had what happened to it? What specifically happened to that pattern? What do the numbers stand for? What do they represent? Pattern 3 added in what? Because we're talking about the visual, what you saw, not what you calculated. Added in what? For what? Because we're talking about a tile pattern. For what? Be specific for this situation. Thank you. But pattern 4 did what? Be specific for the situation. Pattern 4 did what? Because you already said it was different. What did pattern 4 do? Visually. Added in 2 tiles. Thank you. Okay. That's what they're talking about when it says visual. It says, what is the same about this pattern and tile pattern 3? They're talking about looking at it. Okay. What do those similarities look like? Looking at it. So we talked about that pattern 3 and pattern 4 had the same start but different growth values. That was what was the same and what was different. Then it asked, what did it look like? So you had to explain visually what was happening. Visually what was happening. They were different because pattern 3 added in 4 tiles and pattern 4 added in 2 tiles. Now they want us to look at what's the same and different about their equations, their rules. The rules are the same where? What about the rules is the same? So we're simply looking at this, y equals 2x plus 3 and y equals 4x plus 3. What part's the same? Rules twice. That the plus 3 at the back is the same. Are the same. By what is being added at the end of the rule. Okay. The rules are different. So what part of the 2 rules was different? What part of the 2 rules are different? We're talking about just the rules, not the words growth, not the word start, just the rule. What's different about the y equals 4x plus 3 and the y equals 2x plus 3? Okay, we'll go back to basics. You guys already have said this. Pattern 3 is multiplying by 4, and pattern 4 is multiplying by 2. How does the number of tiles by which the pattern increase each time you move from one figure to the next, how is that represented in the equation? So where does the growth show up? The number of tiles the patterns increase by shows up where in the equation, in the rule? Where does it show up in the rule? Where does that growth show up? So let's go back in there. Okay, this said my growth was 2, right? My growth was 2. Where did that show up in my equation? Where did we put that growth? With what piece? What piece does the growth get attached to or connected to? The 2 each time is the end of this rule. Really? I think this rule says y equals 2x plus 3. Where's that growth going? Oh, it's connected to the x. Okay. It shows up as the part that multiplies by the x, right? Okay. Oh. So now we got to transfer down these informations onto the table. So 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, right? And the rule, we already figured that out up above. What was that rule again that we have above? Y equals what for pattern 4? Y equals what for pattern 4? Yes, 2x plus 3. Okay. So we need to graph it. And I do not want to reinvent. So I am going to go over in yesterday's table, just like we learned from Charlie yesterday, made us happy. And I'm going to go get my graph. Going to select, going to the box, boxing in the stuff for the graph yesterday. We're going to take off the points from yesterday, but we're going to go ahead and copy it over to today because I do not want to reinvent. See if it lets me paste. I might have messed it up by moving off. Might have to split screen with it to make it work. Okay, copy. I'm hoping it works. Maybe I have to go like this. It might not work today because I'm going from one worksheet to the other. It's not letting me. Okay, oh well, we just have to remake it. We know what it was. Text box. This was number titles. Can't spell today. And it was the Y. How many did we say? How many did we say? We're going to be using all our lines. And each line's worth 2. Remember, we figured that out yesterday. So what are we going to say? How many points are we going to go? How many lines are we going to go? 2, 4. Keep going. What's my number? Same as yesterday. So the fact that we're having to recalculate is a little irritating, but try to make them straight, but I'm rushing because I'm having to remake it and it's making me irritated that I have to remake it. I was hoping I could copy and paste it from yesterday. I'm really disappointed I can't. How far did we go? We went by 2s. So what number am I putting up here with the Y? We went by 2s. 28. Thank you. I'll put that up there in a second. We go down on the bottom. Every other one is what we're using. Which direction is this? 1 second. You know how to make this, though. Sorry, there. Every other direction, every other line. This is our figure number. It is our X. How far did we go? Our Y went 28. Our X is going how far? Thank you, Charlie. I accidentally switched screens and didn't realize it. How far did the X go? We're using 1 at a time. So how far? Just like yesterday. We're not changing the dimensions at all. Five. Okay. So I'm going to make it smaller so I can see my table with maybe. Oh, I have to get my coordinates. No, my table is right there. Okay. When X is 0, Y is 3. So I have to go in between because these are by 2s. 1 is 5. 2, 4, and in between makes 5. Okay, so we're going in between each time. Because we're going by odds. 0 was 3. And I'm just copying and pasting. Do I connect these dots? Do I connect these dots? Should I be planning to use a line to connect these dots? No, why not? Why would we not draw a line to connect these dots? What's the big deal about that? Why do we not connect this kind of situation with the dots? What does connecting them mean? If we connect them, what does that mean? If we connect them, what does that mean? If we connect our lines, we connect our dots, what does that mean? By connecting the dots, what does that mean? It's the same stuff we did yesterday, so I'm just writing it in because you guys already did part of it yesterday. We're just replacing it with new numbers today. But I say again, if we connect our points with a line, what does that mean is true? If we connect our points with a line, what does that mean is true? If we connect the points with a line, what does that mean is true? Why did Janessa say no, which is the correct answer? Why are we not connecting these? Connecting means what? If we connect them, what does that mean is true? Okay. You guys are the ones that have to take the test on it. Okay, so what you are doing between now and noon is from yesterday's worksheet, you're going to get your 3 tables. From today's, you get the 4th table. And all 4 lines are going to be made separately on the graph, which means you have to use 4 different colors. 2 different shades of blue and 2 different shades of red like. So yes, you could do purple and red because those are close in color to reds. Or you could do a red and an orange because those still are red based. Okay, so you would need to do 2 different shades of blue, one for pattern 1 and one for pattern 2, and 2 different shades of red for pattern 3 and pattern 4. Okay, you're going to have until noon to do that. We are not done with class, so you should not be leaving class. Okay, you need to answer this question so we can go. Why are we not connecting these points? No was the correct answer, but why? It's a huge concept you guys need to know. And we've talked about it before. Why would we not be connecting these points? What makes this situation special so that we don't connect it? No, it has nothing to do with proportional. Nothing. We've talked about it before. Why do we versus why don't we? Why should we not connect them? Which was the right answer. Janessa said the right answer. No, we should not connect them. But why should we not connect them? What about the situation makes it so that we do not connect? What does connecting mean? If I connect the points, what am I saying is true about the situation? Come on, guys. We've done this. We've talked about this multiple times. Can I have 1.2 figures? Can I have 3.4 tiles? If the answer to that is no, then we should not be connecting. So why do we not connect? I just gave a hint. Why do we not connect? No is the correct answer. Why? Can I have 3.2 figures? Can I have 3.2 figures? Can I have 7.2 tiles? Can I have those situations? I'd like us to go, but you guys need to be answering. Right now, you guys sitting there staring instead of answering is what's keeping class going. Can I have part of a figure? Can I have part of a tile? Someone answered. No. So why am I not connecting these points? Why am I not connecting these points? What did we just say we could not have? Because we can't have part of the stuff. We can't have part of a figure. We can't have part of a tile. The only way we connect is if we're allowed to have parts of. There are parts of weeks, so we could connect. So if we were talking about weeks and height, we could connect, because how high you are, you can have part of a foot. How long it takes in months, we could have part of, but you cannot connect if you can't have part of, right? So you are finishing moving the tables in, making the graphs, 2 blue lines, 2 red lines, different colors blue, different colors red, and you have until noon. Do you understand? Okay, have a nice day.